Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Forge Irish Stout Empire Fight Store. Always a pleasure to be joined by Otto Wallin. Otto, first off, before we talk about last night's fights, the event as a whole, how's things with you anyway?
Everything's good. Yeah, I'm in the gym training and yeah, just living my life here in New York and training, hoping to get back in the ring soon.
Have you had any communication with your team and what's next for you? Obviously, we're in an era of boxing now where a defeat doesn't really define you. You can keep coming back, and we're all having these big fights now. And the heavyweight division is stacked, and you've still got a very impressive resume, whether you've won, lost, or whatever. What are you? What's in the pipeline for you? Can you tell us anything?
We're working on a fight late July here in the US. Probably be close to here in New York here. So get a comeback fight. Hopefully get something bigger in the fall. I would love to go back to Saudi and join the mix of all the heavyweights.
Yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
100%. Have you still got that burning desire, that ambition to become world heavyweight champion?
Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't keep doing it. It's not worth it if I don't think can become a champion. So I'm working very hard just to improve. And I lost to Joshua, I lost to Fury, but two of the best fighters in the division. So I think for myself, it's very good to be come up to that level and get that experience and see what I can work on and take defeats the right way and come back better.
100%. We may as well just touch on last night now anyway, because I think that leads us into it. When you look at someone like a Daniel Dubois, who obviously he was getting brought through, had a stumbling block against Joe Joyce. He had a lot of criticism, a lot of question marks over him, and he then built himself back up for Alexander Usyk and was doing very well in that fight up to a point. And a lot of people still say that that shot was okay. It's always in question. And then you look, he's got more question marks. And he fights a guy like, was it Jarrell? And
Yeah.
he took on like this big durable guy who just keeps coming, keeps coming, keeps coming. Got through that, forced the stoppage, and then yesterday, I think, although people weren't 100% convinced Hergovich were going to do it, more people that I spoke to were saying they thought Hergovich would have stopped Dubois because there was still that question mark. But he proved, look, he's got heart, he's got bottle, and he managed to get the victory. And what did you make of that fight yesterday, the Dubois and Hergovich?
I think it's interesting you mentioned, how you can lose and come back. And there's
Yeah,
plenty of examples now with Dubois, Parker, Shang even,
yeah.
come back and have some great fights. And that's what it's all about. The best fighting the best. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You always want to win, of course. But even if you lose one time, come back and stronger and deal with the defeat the right way and just trying to get better. So I think with Dubois, that he did a really good job, I think. Beforehand looked like a very good fight. I think that I was leaning towards Dubois. I want to say that I've told some interview that. So, uh,
Believe you.
but I think that Dubois did a good job. Hergovich was hitting him with some big shots early on, but he took him really well and just kept coming. And after the fight, you couldn't really see that he's been in a fight even. So he took those shots really well and really put it on Hergovich, cut him over both eyes, and yeah, he did a really good job, Dubois, and he's in a better position than ever now.
When you look at a guy like a Filip Hergovic, obviously Dubois will go on, we believe, to fight Anthony Joshua later on this year for the IBF. Pardon me. Obviously, Hergovic wants his cuts healed. I assume he'll want to get back in the mix. I know before the fight they were talking about, oh, I'll retire if I lose to him and things like that, but it's
All
boxing.
right, that's true. Yeah, he said that.
It's
Yeah, he's boxing. He's boxing. We see what he does, but he was an amateur for a really long time, also. So
yeah.
he probably feels like he's had a lot of fights and everything. But we see what he does if he lives up to that promise or not. But he can come back. I think.
I was going to say, would you look at someone like that, someone like a Dillian White? These guys all wanting to get in the mix, and for you to come back and make your return, whether it be obviously I know you're going to fight in America, but wherever it from there, if you want to get back on the Saudi scene, are they the type of names that you want to fight just to sort of get yourself back in the mix? Be some good fights there for you.
Dylan White is the perfect name, I think. I want to fight him. and he's coming back now. So we had a little bit of history with the other fight that he pulled out of,
Yeah.
and I would love to fight him. I think he's a great opponent for me, the right time. So I would love that fight.
How do you see a fight playing out between you and Dillian? Obviously, he's had that period of inactivity. He's had one fight in Ireland just to sort of get his feet wet back in the game. But how do you see a fight panning out between you two? Do you believe you get to him and stop him?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's a great style for me. He's not the fastest guy, pretty slow in his feet, and I think as long as I can use my advantages, I think I make it. I take him to school. I think.
What did you make of Zhang Wilder, Zhile Zhang, for the sort of the first 4 to 5 rounds of any fight seems to be, in his element, and then when it gets to the back end, you can see sometimes he slows down a little bit, but didn't need to get that far, and he managed to get the victory over Wilder. What's your opinion on this? A lot of people I've just spoke to saying they think Wilder's probably done now at this level, but look, still a big name, and that's for him to decide. What did you make of the fight and the performance?
It was a good fight. I think that Shang he brought it, and we expected a good fight. Wilder, Shang was just better, I think, and he was a sharper guy. I think with Wilder, he was never the best technical fighter, but he had always had that power. So as soon as he would hit guys, they would go down. But now it seems like that's gone a little bit
Yeah.
from him, and I'm sure I mean, that changes him, of course. And yeah, I think if Wilder wants to continue, that's up to him, of course. But it was a tough loss, this one for him. He lost to Parker now, lost to Zhang. So we'll see what he does.
Do you think that people have lost that? I don't know. I don't want to say fear of him, but the danger element as much is not there. And the fights that he's had with Tyson Fury, obviously, you had a good fight with Tyson Fury. He had three of them, and Spencer Fearon, I spoke to him earlier, and he said, in them type of fights, you leave a piece of yourself in them fights, the trilogies.
Yeah.
Tyson did, Deontay did. Do you think that them fights have just taken that much out of him that maybe that he's not going to get back to it because it's wear and tear?
I think it's contributing. That was really tough fights. He got knocked out 2 times, right? And the second fight and third fight was really tough. And probably the first fight too was tough. And then I mean, he hasn't really been the same. He knocked out Hernandez. That was a beautiful knockout, but I don't know. For some reason now, he doesn't seem the same. And he's older, probably made a lot of money, and he's had a really good career, Wilder. So uh, it's hard. It's hard. It really does take something out of you, though, if you have a tough fight like that. And that's you. I think people are. It's very true when they say you leave a little bit of yourself in there.
Yeah. I think what's good now is that obviously, depending on what Deontay does, we mentioned and touched on at the start of the interview, we're entering this era into boxing now where obviously Deontay's at that stage of his career where he's been a world champion. He's like you mentioned, they've probably got enough money to retire and hang it up, but where a defeat doesn't define your career, and obviously you'll know yourself, you're in the position where sometimes a loss, depending on how you lose, can put you in a better position. Like you got so many plaudits for the Tyson Fury performance, and that helped elevate your name even in defeat because of the performance. Who are you wanting to share the ring with aside from Dylan White? Have you got like a goal of a hit list of people over the next 12 to 18 months who you go, you know what, we get this fight done, then it's Dillian, then it's him, then it's him, or is it a case of you don't care as long as it's a big fight?
I don't care so much. I think that, I mean, I really want to fight for the world title, of course, but
Yeah.
right now I'm pretty far from that. So I think just get a comeback fight here in July and want to fight a guy like Dillian maybe. And after that, there's so many big fights out there. So it's really depends on the offers and what's out there, who's available. So yeah, I haven't really thought that far, but I think there'll be a good fight. This one that I got, and then Dillian, and then we just
Yeah.
take it from there.
I want to ask you something else. What's sort of the biggest thing that boxing's taught you? You've obviously a seasoned professional now. What's the biggest lesson that you've got from it?
That's a really good question.
Just a bit of a curveball for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's a good. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that question because it's nice to talk about something else in a way. I
Yeah,
guess different questions. But I think the first thing that comes to mind is that if you really put yourself into something, put your energy into it, you can become good at it. I remember when I was younger, when I started boxing, I felt like I was improving every week when I was training, and I felt like I was getting better and better. And I had never felt that before. So I can take that now into life, whether it's if I could have spent some more time in school when I was younger, I probably would have done better and everything like that. And so I know now after my career, when that happens, that I can put my if I find something that I'm really passionate about, I can be really good at it if I work hard for it. So I think that's the biggest thing, or one of them. And then, yeah, I think that boxing has given me so much, and got to travel a lot. I'm from a small town in Sweden, so just to live here in New York City is just amazing, and I feel like I have a really good life, and it's all thanks to boxing.
yeah, New York as well. Like I've only been once. I love it. It's a great place. You mentioned there what boxing has done for you, and just another little sidebar. Have you looked at? I'm not wishing your time away, by the way. You've got a lot of fights left, but do you look further ahead and say, eventually, when that time comes where I have to hang the gloves up, do you know what your route will be? Whether you'll either be a trainer, manager, promoter, stay in the sport, you've got other hobbies. Do you look at that and go, you know what? I know what I'm going to do, or is it a day by day thing?
I think about it a lot. It's not that I'm gonna retire now, but it's always, I keep hearing about other athletes that struggle when they stop, when they retire. So I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think I come to the conclusion that I want to stay in boxing,
Yeah,
and I think I'd be a trainer. I think that now I've been in boxing for so long, I have good experience, a lot of good contacts, and decent name. So I think that as long as I go back and be a real student,
yeah,
and learn how to train people. And also, I've had great trainers around me. My boxing trainer Joey and other people, and then strength and conditioning coach that's done really well for me, and sports psychologist and everything. So I think I can bring all that together and
yeah.
and really help other fighters and people.
And last one, what's the one bit of advice you would give to someone who's wanting to turn professional? Maybe they're an amateur boxer, just sort of not really maybe touted for the Olympics or anything like that. But what's the best bit of advice you would give to somebody who wants to turn into a professional boxer? What was the best advice you'd give?
I think the best advice is just to think long term. If you're a younger guy, just let it take time. And if I always thought that I'm gonna get better and better. I'm gonna be a world champion, and even if I lost a fight in the past, I always felt like, yeah, this is not my peak. I'm just gonna keep training, keep getting better. So I think just having long-term goals. So it doesn't really matter if you win or lose now, because you're still gonna keep training and keep improving. And this is not the final destination. It's just part of everything. And also when you lose, especially as an amateur, it's just experience. So you're just racking up the experience and learning from it. And like I said before, just taking the losses in the right way. Just trying to learn from it, look at the fights, and just figure out what went wrong, and then work on it in training. So
100%.
I think with boxing or anything, it's just thinking long term, and you gotta be able to put in the work over the years. It doesn't happen in 6 months or a year, or in two fights. It's gonna take a long time, and you need to put in a lot of work.
That's a good outlook to look at how you just sort of defined dealing with loss and to learn from it. Because in boxing, there's that famous saying, when you win, it's the highest highs, but a defeat is the lowest low. And you guys put yourself out there in front of millions of people watching, and how do you deal with defeat? Like for these young guys who are watching, how when you've had that experience, is it different? Is it the same? Do you spend a week sort of a bit down in the dumps and pick yourself back up? How do you deal with it?
When I lost the Fury, I felt like it was more of a win than anything. So it wasn't that hard. When I lost as an amateur, like I said, I just try to go back to the gym and just keep working. I just thought to myself, this is not the end. It's just experience, just gonna get better and better, trying to
Yeah,
improve. When I lost to Joshua, that was probably my toughest loss. And maybe, I mean, I got a little bit low after, so it was tough because I felt like going into the fight I was gonna win,
Yeah,
and then lost the fight, and it was a little bit tough. But then I got a lot of support, some hate, but a lot more support. So I always try to focus on the good things. If I get 10 good comments and 10 good messages, then I get one that's terrible. Then shouldn't really focus on the only one, right? Should focus on the good stuff. And what really matters is what my family thinks, what my friends thinks. So I really appreciate all the support I got after that loss, and it really helped me bounce back. And now I feel good again. And also always for me, any like setback I've had, I think that boxing has really helped me to come back. Just to stay in the gym and have a goal always. And when my dad died, I was right back in the gym the next day. So boxing really helped me get through that. And also,
yeah.
yeah, when I lost now, I had a few weeks off, then started going back to the gym, and then started feeling better and better.
Yeah. I think that's been a good way to sort of end the interview away from all the fights and all the usual breakdowns that we do. So it's a bit of
Yeah,
advice there for maybe some young fighters who are thinking of turning pro as well. So Otto,
yeah.
look, I appreciate you giving us this time. I know you're all the way in the States, and we appreciate you coming back on the channel. And we look forward to hearing when you've got some fight news.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime, appreciate it.